Ever since I was a child, the vibrant hues of a canvas always spoke to me in ways words never could. I wanted nothing more than to become a painter, to express the raw emotions and wild dreams swirling within me. But to my family, my dream was nothing more than a joke, a ridiculous whim, too absurd for our humble town. "Art will never put food on your plate," my father would declare, his voice dripping with disdain. "You'll end up on the streets." My mother would nod solemnly, echoing his fear in softer tones. My siblings laughed openly, mimicking my brushstrokes with exaggerated flails. But I stood firm, determined. The night before I left, my father's words cut deep. "You're embarrassing us," he spat. That final onslaught of rejection fueled my resolve. I packed my tattered suitcase, stuffed with brushes and half-finished canvases, and vowed to prove them wrong. The city was a stark contrast to the small town's dull monotony, a chaotic symphony of lights and possibilities. I spent countless nights in my cramped apartment, the dim glow of an overhead bulb casting shadows over my latest pieces. Between odd jobs and gallery rejections, survival was a constant struggle, each setback intensifying my determination. Art was my lifeline, my refuge, where each stroke of the brush felt like a promise, a contract with myself to push on. Days blurred into months and months into years, each step fraught with the spectre of failure. But each silent triumph tasted sweeter, knowing the depths from which I had clawed my way up. Slowly, my art began to garner attention, whispers turning into conversations, and those conversations eventually leading to invitations. The first gallery that displayed my work was a revelation. I stood among strangers who praised the very essence of what I had created, and for the first time, I felt a flicker of validation. Yet the shadows of doubt took long to fully dissipate. Solo exhibitions followed soon after, and my name began echoing through hushed, reverent halls, far removed from the jeers of my past. When the invitation came for a substantial commission, one big enough to secure my place among my city's influential elites, I knew the moment to return had come. The idea of homecoming was both terrifying and exhilarating. Now, years later, the very idea of sharing what I had become with those who'd once derided me loomed like a magnetic force I couldn't abandon. And so, one crisp autumn morning, I found myself standing once again in front of the house I had left behind, the old wood porch sagging ever so slightly. The morning sun pooled on the worn steps, casting long fractured shadows. Steeling myself, I knocked. My father's face appeared first, marked by time but still stern, his eyes narrowing as if he couldn't quite place me. He had aged, lines deepening his once youthful countenance. My mother stood at his side, eyes widening in disbelief, before going slack with recognition. "We thought we lost you," she whispered, shame lacing her voice. "Lost, no," I replied softly, allowing myself a tentative smile. "Gone, yes, but never for long." The living room, once cramped with stifling expectations, was now where I laid before them a bound book, a collection of my successful art, testament to years of toil and unyielding belief. My siblings soon gathered, drawn by whispered urgency, their expressions a mix of awe and regret. "This is what you went to do." My youngest brother spoke first, his voice nearing amazement as he flipped the pages too quickly, like a child tasting sugar for the first time. A nod was all I could muster as emotions welled up, rendering me momentarily speechless. "You really became something," my father admitted, after what felt like an eternity, his voice cracking with something almost apologetic, an unspoken recognition that his predictions had been wrong. The silence that followed was not empty, but rather full, of possibilities, of untold forgiveness gently unfurling. The return had not been about gloating or flaunting, but to share the journey, to bridge the yawning gap of misunderstanding. As the afternoon sun painted the room with golden hues, my family leafed through more of my work, their whispers turning from disbelief to admiration. The very paints and brushes they'd thought would ruin me had forged my success. My heart swelled with a quiet triumph. For the first time, I felt the oppressive shadows of my youth disperse, replaced by a lightness, an acceptance that transcended the old wounds and breathed into each of us the fresh air of renewal. This home, which once echoed with derision at my ambitions, now vibrated with a newfound harmony. And as I watched my siblings study the intricate details of my art, the very strokes that mirrored my journey of defiance and perseverance, I knew I'd finally painted my arrival, not just as their son or their brother, but as an artist who had walked the path of dreams and returned victorious.